Honestly, I am so embarrassed to be telling this story, and if you're a makeup artist, don't come for me, please. One time I had a client who was a friend of a family member who reached out to me just a couple of days before the dance asking me if I could do her daughter's homecoming makeup. Let me just point out that at this time I had already graduated high school and I'd been out for a minute. So it had been a while since I had done somebody's prom or homecoming makeup. I had mostly moved on to doing photo shoots, some weddings, or just coming up with crazy looks to do on myself for fun. So when I asked what type of look she wanted, she sent me a look from Pinterest that I had literally seen the exact reference photo for probably like 50 times. I was like, great, this is going to be super easy, nothing to worry about here, so I was like, sure, I'll do it. So on the day of the dance, I go over to my client's house. One of the first things I do whenever I do someone's makeup is make sure that I have a foundation and concealer shade that will match their skin tone. And this girl was abnormally pale. She was absolutely beautiful, and her skin literally reminded me of porcelain, like a porcelain doll. But even my lightest foundation and concealer shades were too dark for her skin. If you've ever done anyone's makeup, even a friend, you know that it is so embarrassing to not be able to match their skin tone. Luckily though, I was used to having to come up with very creative solutions to very sticky situations. Like I said before, I was doing this girl's makeup for her homecoming dance, and homecoming is usually in the fall, and this one was right around Halloween. So I did happen to have some face paint in my makeup kit. And here's where the first really embarrassing thing happened. I didn't know what else to do, so I literally took white face paint and mixed it with my foundation to create a perfect match for her skin tone. It did work, and it looked really good on her skin. So after I used this face paint foundation mixture to put all over her face, I go in and I start doing the eye look. This was also during COVID, so I was wearing a face mask, and as I progressed through her eye look, it started getting really difficult for me to breathe. At first, obviously, I thought it was because of the mask and it was probably just hot in the room that we were in. But after about 20 minutes, it started getting really difficult and I was honestly getting so uncomfortable. I couldn't figure out why. I literally couldn't breathe. Also, I'm not one of those people who can't breathe if they get nervous or anything like that. I have a completely different reaction. I decided not to say anything because, what am I going to say to a 16-year-old girl whose parents aren't home? And quite honestly, I just didn't want to scare her. I finish her entire look, she pays me, everything looks great, and as I'm walking out of her house, I see the 3 cats sitting in her living room. Fun fact about me, I'm extremely allergic to cats. And when I got in my car and took off my mask, my entire face was swollen. That explained why I couldn't breathe, and I was quite honestly embarrassed because that means that my eyes had been swollen the entire time I was standing there talking to her. Everything turned out fine though. I took a Benadryl when I got home and her makeup looked amazing.
I have a story. One day in 5th grade we were on a field trip. On the bus I was sitting next to this weird girl named Patty McBerry. For some reason Patty was so excited about the trip. We were going to a museum. Anyways, halfway through the trip Patty McBerry started coughing viciously. She had a seizure due to overexcitement. She was shaking from happiness for the rest of the ride. When we got there Patty McBerry ran out of that bus faster than coronavirus spreads. She fainted because she was so excited. The tour guide had to hold on to Patty while he showed us around because she was too hyper. Out of nowhere, Patty McBerry broke free and ran right to the live animal section. She went to the gorilla's enclosure and smushed her face against the cage wall. Then out of nowhere she starts climbing up the wall. Patty McBerry jumped into the enclosure and tackled the gorilla out of excitement. The gorilla ate Patty and she died.
I will never understand why school has to start at 7 in the morning. Like, what do you think I am? A rooster? Oh, cock-a-doodle-doo. And then teachers come in all, come on you guys, you gotta pick up the energy. What's going on? Oh, I don't know, Barbara. Maybe it's because it's 7 in the morning? Like, why are you expecting me to solve a triangle? You're built like a triangle. Why don't you do it?
Okay, so one time when I was in class I had the very aggressive urge to fart. I was scared it was more than a fart, so I asked the teacher to go to the bathroom and she said yes. I ran down the hallway with my hands on my butt preparing for the worst. I reached the bathroom and slammed the door shut and had the most stinky, slinky, dinky, double-decker Twinkie, extra pepperoni, piggy, sticky shard in the whole world. The walls started to cave in and I'm pretty sure I saw Jesus out the window. The fire alarm went off and everyone was screaming. They thought Thanos snapped his fingers. I screamed in the bathroom sounding like a dying goat. I stopped after 5 minutes and felt like I just killed half the all-known universe myself.
School starting soon. As someone who's already graduated, here's a list of things you need to bring to school with you. Snacks. This may not seem so important, but this can determine how well your day goes. Because there's nothing worse than being hungry and having your stomach rumble during a test. And there's still 2 periods till lunch. Or for whatever reason, lunch food was gross or just wasn't enough, snacks are so important. Oreos, a small bag of chips, just eat them in the hallway right before you enter the classroom. Money. I never went to school with money, and I can't tell you how much I always regretted it. Because of course they happened to be selling World's Finest Chocolate that day, and of course they had to be selling tickets to whatever that day as well, and I never had money on me. It's just always good to have something in your backpack, just in case. Pens. As many as you could possibly have them. Pencils are great, but when I was in high school, pens were elite. I don't know, unless you were in math class, or maybe it's because I was taking a lot of like advanced English classes, but we only used pens. And they go missing all the time, so get a bunch of those. A book. I don't care if you don't like to read. This made time go by like that. And no teacher's gonna get mad at you for reading, unless it's a math teacher. Being on your phone, maybe, but reading? I read in my science classes, I read in my math classes, and like, I can't tell you a single thing. I can't tell you a thing I learned, but I got smarter regardless, because I was reading. Mints. A lot of schools don't allow chewing gum, so mints are a great alternative. This could be for fresh breath, to keep you awake, or just to have something to eat. Highly recommend mints. And finally, a jacket. You're like, oh, I don't need it, I go to school in a warm place. A jacket. Have a thin one in your backpack at all times. Because accidents happen. I can't tell you how many times a jacket has saved somebody in my class because they had an accident. A time of the month related accident. But also, some classes are freezing. It's just good to always have it, and you can always pull it out and use it as a pillow. School is starting soon, and as someone who has already graduated, here are my tips on what not to bring to high school. Colored pencils. You don't need this. Unless you like to sketch and you got like a little sketchbook and you just want to like, I don't know, sketch at lunch. You could do that. But in terms of like needing anything colored, pencil, colored marker, colored anything wise, you just don't need that. Highlighters. I did all 4 years of high school in advanced classes, ACE program, AP, no highlighters were used by me. I feel like the kids who used them really just wanted to. There was no need. You can just underline things or, yeah, underline them or just bolden them again. I don't know, maybe highlighting's easier, but you don't need it. A different binder for every class. I don't know, people out here really think they need a binder for every class. You don't. Some classes, like art, don't need a binder. But I also had a science class where my teacher assigned nothing. I didn't need a binder for that either. One big binder with multiple subjects in it will work, just to save you some space. A purse and a backpack. I don't really see this that often, but it's not necessary. I don't know, unless you have a fashion show to be at after school, a pencil bag. That little pouch in front of your backpack will work just fine. If the pencil bag goes missing, then what are you gonna do? You're not gonna lose your backpack though, probably. And finally, a folder for every subject. Like I said before, you don't need as many folders as you have classes. Some classes will not give you any paper at all. So you just have these empty folders all year. I've done it! A nice giant folder to hold all your classes and all your paperwork, I feel like is more efficient, especially one that like divides nicely. Or just a few folders instead of one for every class. Let me know if you want a video of what you should bring to high school.
Okay, so story time. By the way, follow @glambyhelen on Instagram and send me your stories. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. There was this girl, we'll call her Braylon, who had just moved in next to me. This girl was in the same school as I was and the same grade. Definitely didn't take her long to get popular though. I'm gonna be completely honest. I did not like this B word. I think you know what I'm saying. You know, I just had a feeling from like the moment I met her. There was this one time during class where she just walked up to me and called me a fat B word. Like, huh? What? It doesn't make sense.